This is the blueprint for winning government contracts, and I'm going to break it down in a way that even a 10-year-old can understand. And I know because I taught my 10-year-old. Step one is the federal sales roadmap. But before we even get to that, we need to ask ourselves a question. What is a government contract? A government contract is when the U.S. federal government pays a business to provide products or services. If you win the contract directly from the government, you are a prime contractor. If you get paid by the prime to do part of the work, you are a subcontractor. Just for the record, there is no such thing as a middleman. Middleman does not exist in government contracting. If you submit a proposal to the federal government and win, you are a prime contractor. And you're going to be expected to deliver. If you want to chase middleman money, go see my video, Middleman is. It might save you from a very expensive mistake. But why the hell should you listen to me? Well, I'm a former government procurement officer. I spent 20 years in the Air Force. During that time, I, as a acquisitions officer, which is the profession of putting companies on contract for the government, managed over $82 billion in contracts. I've led teams doing rapid tech development with small businesses, Silicon Valley, MIT tech startups, largest foreign military sales portfolio in the Department of Defense. Now I run GovClose, which is the #1 training and certification platform in the United States for teaching the government contracting process and the 3 revenue streams that you can drive with that expertise. Now I've instructed over 700 CEOs, account executives, sales team, consultants, veterans, federal workers, people looking to get into the government contracting industry. And that's just the students that have been through our program. That doesn't count the millions of people that have watched us on YouTube and LinkedIn and listened to our podcast. If you're trying to figure out how to sell to the US government, this is exactly what we do. Now, step one is the federal sales roadmap. And the question we ask when we get into the federal sales roadmap is one that most companies never do ask. And that is, does the government even buy what we sell? The answer to that question is almost always yes. But we never want to make an assumption that the answer is yes, because selling to the government takes a long time and it is hard. Now, you don't want to be investing your time and money in chasing something that isn't there. So we want to know exactly how much of it the government buys, and do they buy it from companies like yours? So we don't guess. We do the research. Here's what we want to know, and this is all public data. How much of the product or service that we offer does the government buy? Which offices in the government? I'm not talking about agencies. What are the specific offices that buy the product or service that you're selling? How do they buy it? What contract mechanisms do they use to buy from companies like yours? How competitive is it? We can see how many proposals come in for every solicitation. Some niches are extremely competitive, where others, we might see 1 or 2 proposals come in per solicitation. And this is all data that we can see if we do the research. This is your advantage in selling to the government. So look, at the end of the day, we're not responding to RFPs blind. We are reverse engineering the process and just executing what already works. Step 1 is simple. Study the data and have a plan. If I ask my 6-year-old, how do you sell to the government? He's going to say, have a plan. Before you sell anything, study the data. Find the money, find the buyer. That's your edge. That's the roadmap. That's what we teach. And that's step 1. Once we build the roadmap, we don't just go hunting for contracts. We have to build the engine that's going to drive all of this. And that's our pipeline. So you've probably seen this diagram: roadmap, pipeline, output, or consistently winning contracts. But the pipeline, this is where it all happens. And your pipeline is not a spreadsheet. It's not a wish list. The pipeline is a plan that is based on the strategy that you've already put together on how you're going to sell to a targeted federal buyer. In other words, this is a repeatable process. Government sales takes a long time, so we have to manage the complexity of the process over the long haul. Companies are reactionary when it comes to government contracting. Most companies wait for an RFP, or request for proposal, request for quote, to drop. But most federal offices already have a company in mind by the time that solicitation drops. So what we do is we need to find those leads early, way before the solicitation comes out, so that we are then the company that has influenced that opportunity and can be the one that wins after the proposal's written. Therefore, you show up early and become part of the solution before the paperwork ever drops. Precision tracking. A lot of companies will load a lead into their CRM or spreadsheet, and then it just disappears, never to be touched again. We need a way to flag each lead and precisely track it through the many steps, 8, 10, 15, sometimes 20 steps in the process over time. And this could take us sometimes 12, 18 months, sometimes 2 years. So we need a system to track every touch point. Here's some of the touch points: go, no-go decision, teaming agreement, sources sought submission, influencing, setting up a brief with the government, tracking the solicitation, writing the proposal, submitting. Those are just a few. When you have a system like this, no opportunity slips through the cracks. You have the big picture and you can track each lead all the way through. Step 3, meet with the government, build a relationship and influence the opportunity. Many companies just write proposals. Some will actually send some emails also and hope for the magic to happen. But in reality, we have to meet with the buyers, the program managers, the contracting officers, the engineers involved with the acquisition of what we're selling. Then we become the company that the government wants to put on contract. And when the solicitation comes out, we've already helped the government write that contract, putting us in a much better position to win. So we get the meetings early, influence each opportunity, meet with the government. We do that all before any opportunity hits sam.gov. When the money moves, we're the known name. We're not just the random vendor submitting a proposal that the government's never heard of. Step 4, thorough execution. Everyone gets excited early on in the process, but then they quit when things take too long or they get too hard or become too complex. But we keep showing up. We keep following up. We execute the process even when nobody else will. That's how we become the company that ends up on contract. Now, all your competitors are going to be sitting there going, oh, it's rigged. Oh, Ricky's company got awarded because he knows somebody in the government side. No, that's not the case at all. What happened is you showed up early, you put the work in, you developed the relationships, you influenced, you spent months, if not years, working that opportunity when that other company didn't even know what was going on. You put the work in, you deserve to win that contract. So from pipeline, it goes to output, winning the contract. So now you've won the contract, right? Yay, we won the contract. We're getting paid finally. Here's the thing, winning the contract isn't the end. Winning the contract is the beginning. This is when the hard work starts. Most companies spend so much time trying to win the contract that they overlook the immense amount of work that's going to go into delivering the product or service to the government once you win the contract. You're not getting paid for selling it to them. You're getting paid for delivering. Because here's the truth about winning contracts. You can win $1 million contract and have zero profit if you don't do it right. If you follow this process, you're going to get that email that says, congratulations, you've been selected by the DOD or the DOE or whatever federal agency. But, look, take a moment to celebrate, but then you got to buckle down. This is when the real work starts. If you do it right, if you've priced it right, and you're delivering like a pro, then you are going to have the profit. This is when the government starts to trust you. And this is when the next opportunity shows up, potentially without even hitting sam.gov. Here's the part that nobody tells you. Once you're on contract with the government, there's a whole new world of fast-track acquisition, meaning you have past performance, you have a relationship with a customer, you have a contract in place. There are now ways to expedite how the government puts you on contract. This is a whole new sales engine, and it's one that we'll cover in a different video. So yes, go out there and win the contract. But just know that that singular contract is not the destination. You need to prepare for what comes next. So you're not just winning a contract, you're building a business that lasts and can scale. To make sure that you get your proposals right, check out this next video with retired Colonel Louis Orndorff, a former contracting officer, troubleshoots a contract that one of our students won before he came into our program and shows him how he can increase the profit margins with the agency that awarded him the contract.